today we are going to be exploring the GT package, and as you can see I have my R Markdown loaded up here. This is a very powerful package and it lets you make better tables for visual presentations and for your own personal use. I found it very similar to work with, such as ggplot or ggtables, where it's not very complicated, but it can be very powerful in the sense that it does a lot of different things, and if you know the code, you can make some pretty cool things. And so I wanted to share this package with everyone, as I thought, as you guys download data and you work with data, there tends to be pretty bland tables. R does a okay job of displaying tables and tables, um, but this package really takes it to another level, and especially because there's a lot more you can do with this package. If you get good at it, you might be using it in the future for, demonstrating tables to organizations, taking quick looks at things, or just making easier to present a table for yourself. Make quick glances of tables. And so we're gonna go ahead and get started, and it is called the GT package, and I did have some errors at the beginning. It might give you an error when you try to install the package saying rlang needs to be a higher version. To fix that, I pretty much just in the package section typed in rlang or rl, and then rlang came up, and it needs to be above a 1.01. So make sure you install that, and we can go ahead and run our starting knitr options. You also need the library for glue. That also just comes with the GT package. And I load tidyverse just in case. So we can go ahead and get started. I wanted to just start off simple and have a data set that everyone could use. So we're using the MT cars data set, and I thought that would be a pretty easy one. And so we're going to go ahead and run this chunk. And I'm reading in the data here. I take a quick look at the data and look at what R displays, which is just a basic table. It's pretty basic, has all the variables. It's got the names here. It tells you the character types. And I just wanted to pipe it in, and I wanted to get the names of the car data, or the names of the cars, and then relocate them to the front. And then to do that, I had to do it this way. And so when you do this, you can actually run it, and it should give you a better data section. As you can see, we now have car names and we have variables. And the first glance of the GT function, you can call it into a variable such as this and call it GT table. It's just GT parentheses your data set. You can go ahead and run that, or if you wanted to display it, call the variable back, and this is what it does. So big difference from this and a big difference from this. Also a big difference from just doing head and data. This is what if you did head would do, and this is what GT does. It also displays almost all, I think it displays all the data as well. So it shows everything. It kind of organizes it in a little bit neater fashion with a little bit of plain white background. But you could also pipe into this. So I just did head data, and then I just piped it into GT. And when you do this, you get the same thing. Actually, this one actually shows only a couple of the variables. So if you only wanted to see a couple and see what GT does, that's what you can do with it. I got very fancy with this, and so from what we learned in the class, I used select, and I selected the things I wanted to do, and I had a question in mind. I said, what type of cars have the highest horsepower? To answer that, I selected by car names, miles per gallon, cylinders, displacement, horsepower, grouped it by cylinders, and I arranged it by the highest horsepower. And I only wanted to see the top 5 cars because I don't think I need to see more than that. And then I just call the GT package here. So we can go ahead and run this. And when we do, we can see it creates a list of the cars, and they're categorized by their cylinder, and it tells you their miles per gallon, their displacement, and their horsepower. And that's the main function of GT, is just the GT function. Next, you can add, titles and stuff. So let's go ahead and run this, and this is going to be a big step above because now we have a title, and we can edit that title. And the next thing is, if we don't want certain variables, we can hide them. So say we didn't want horsepower, we can easily just run this, and columns hide your column you want to hide, or you can unhide it, columns unhide, and then the column you hid. And so that'll let you hide or unhide columns. And this is a lot to read in right here. Um, Pretty much tab source note is going to let you leave a note at the bottom, kind of like a footnote for tables, which is kind of useful if you want to cite things. Calls label is a way you can label um, the what's it called? The variables. Rename the column name and use it as a row label. And so we can run that. And then I did these as well. And so the reason I did this is because I didn't like having just these basic names. I want to expand it a little bit further. And then I also want to align them all to the center. Um, and then I also want to align the header to the left so that it looks a little bit more professional. So we can go ahead and run this. Ooh, let's actually run the one beforehand. Run everything before. And then let's rerun this. So we can see our table gets a little bit fancier. We have the title on the left, car models grouped by cylinders, our miles per gallon, displacement, everything else. Perfect. And we still see that horsepower is going from highest to lowest. Next, I wanted to change the style of certain things. So I'm going to go ahead and run all this. If you guys wanted to, you can take a look at the R Markdown itself. I will leave it with everything needed. But I was able to import a Google font here, and it lets you import fonts onto your tables. It lets you use default fonts. It lets you select different labels and then apply styles to them. So I wanted to apply borders on the cells, make them bold and have a certain size. Same with the title, I wanted to make it bold. And so as we can see, it changed the font. I have a bold title, bold headers for my columns, and then all the rest of the text is pretty standard. Going down, this is getting a lot more fancy with the styling. If you really wanted to get very fancy with this, I decided to go ahead and answer my own question here. And I said, how can we see the highest horsepower cars? So I'm just going to run everything. And we can see right here, if we scroll down, I was able to create a table that shows the least horsepower, the Datsun 710, and the highest horsepower in green. And I was able to color it and basically make functions for each style I wanted. And so it's a pretty powerful function. I would say check it out if you can. And here are some links to help you guys out. I found that you might need to do some outside research, but it's pretty amazing. Thank you.